Today's episode is delivered to you in an audiobook style narration. Our focus today is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, a refreshingly blunt take on self-improvement that challenges the conventional wisdom of always trying to be positive, successful, and the best you can be. Instead, Manson argues that accepting life's inevitable struggles and choosing your values more carefully is the real key to finding lasting contentment. Over the next sections, we'll explore the central themes, from Manson's contrarian outlook and self-deprecating humor to his practical advice on responsibility, suffering, and leading a more meaningful life. 1. A counterintuitive approach to self-help. Manson's title is provocative by design, signaling that this isn't your typical always stay positive self-help book. He wants you to let go of the obsession with external markers of success, like fame or wealth, and instead, figure out what genuinely deserves your time and energy. The phrase, not giving a fuck, doesn't mean being indifferent to everything. It means knowing which things matter, then unapologetically investing yourself in them while ignoring distractions or trivial concerns. Manson's tone is frank, laced with profanity, and grounded in personal stories where he openly admits his own mistakes. This style resonates with many readers who prefer candor over coddling. He's essentially telling you, hey, life is tough. You'll fail sometimes, and that's okay. Don't sweat the small stuff. 2. The problem with constant positivity. A central argument is that the relentless pursuit of happiness or positivity can backfire. Manson calls out the modern culture of fake positivity, where people compare themselves on social media or chase the illusion of constant success. Paradoxically, the more you try to be happy, the more you notice what's lacking, which makes you feel worse. Manson references the backward law, pointing out that the harder you chase something, like approval or significance, the more elusive it becomes. He suggests that true well-being emerges naturally when you stop forcing it, accept who you are, and dedicate yourself to a few meaningful priorities instead of trying to be perfect at everything. 3. Choose your struggles wisely. One of the book's recurring themes is that suffering is unavoidable, but you can choose which form of suffering is worth enduring. Instead of fantasizing about the rewards, like having a successful business or a dream relationship, ask yourself, what pain or struggle am I willing to sustain in order to achieve something worthwhile? Manson believes we can't eliminate struggle from life. The key is to select a form of suffering that aligns with our values. For instance, if you love writing, the inevitable rejections, late-night revisions, and bouts of insecurity might be pains you're willing to bear. When you align your struggles with your deeper motivations, they become more meaningful, even if they're hard. 4. The feedback loop from hell. In the early chapters, Manson explains the feedback loop from hell, where you feel anxious or guilty about something, then you feel bad about feeling bad, which escalates the negativity. An example might be social anxiety. You worry you don't fit in, then you worry about worrying, which amplifies the stress. Manson's advice is to accept negative emotions as a natural part of life, instead of layering extra shame or frustration on top. This perspective is akin to mindfulness teachings that emphasize acknowledging emotions without overreacting. The core message: don't beat yourself up for not being happy or confident all the time. Ironically, letting yourself feel bad sometimes lessens the overall stress because you stop turning it into a vicious cycle of self-critique. 5. The importance of values. Manson places great emphasis on clarifying your personal values. If your values are shallow, like desiring constant approval or craving fame, you'll likely remain perpetually unsatisfied. On the other hand, if your values are more grounded, like learning, curiosity, honesty, or compassion, you'll find resilience in the face of adversity. Defining better values isn't about moral judgment, it's about choosing principles that can withstand life's ups and downs. Manson urges readers to adopt process-oriented values, like exploring, building relationships, mastering a skill, rather than outcome-oriented values, like being admired for having a fancy car. When you shift your focus from superficial metrics to meaningful personal growth, you're more likely to experience a sense of fulfillment. 6. Responsibility and ownership. A major theme is that while we might not always be at fault for what happens in life, we're responsible for how we respond. Manson underscores that blaming external events or other people for our misery perpetuates powerlessness. Instead, taking ownership, saying, "This is my problem to deal with," can be liberating. Even if you didn't cause your current predicament, deciding you're the one who must handle it grants you agency. This perspective counters victim mentality without dismissing genuine injustices. It acknowledges that we can't always control circumstances, but can control our reactions. Manson's tough love approach can be jarring if you're used to "it's not your fault" reassurances, but it also fosters resilience and self-efficacy. 7. Rejection makes life better. Manson devotes a chapter to the idea that rejection is a crucial aspect of living a fulfilling life. By saying no to certain people, jobs, or obligations, you create space for what genuinely aligns with your values. If you try to please everyone, you're giving away your energy and self-respect. Though rejection can be painful initially, fear of missing out or fear of being disliked, it acts as a clarifying filter. Manson claims we all have a limited capacity to give a fuck. So distributing it widely to unimportant matters or shallow relationships is a recipe for exhaustion. By narrowing your circle of concern to fewer, more essential commitments, you build richer connections and a stronger sense of identity. 8. The do something principle. A surprising insight is that motivation often follows action rather than precedes it. People assume they need inspiration to start a project or tackle a goal, but Manson's stance is just do something. Even small steps can ignite momentum and generate further motivation. For instance, if you want to write but lack ideas, try free writing random thoughts. The simple act of writing can spark additional ideas, fueling the desire to continue. This approach dismantles the excuse of waiting for the perfect mood or perfect moment. By forcing yourself to act, you can break the inertia of procrastination, discovering that progress can fuel motivation more effectively than waiting for an elusive spark. 9. Embracing mortality. Another key chapter discusses the inevitability of death. Manson says that reflecting on mortality helps clarify what truly matters and strips away petty concerns. When you confront the fragility of life, it becomes easier to drop trivial pursuits and focus on relationships, personal passions, or contributions that leave a legacy. Far from depressing, this reflection can be energizing. Knowing your time is finite can jolt you out of complacency. You might finally write that book, reach out to estranged family, or volunteer for a cause you care about. Manson's idea is that remembering our limited lifespan fosters urgency, sincerity, and a sense of perspective. 10. Not a license for selfishness. The phrase, "not giving a fuck," can be misunderstood as endorsing recklessness or inconsiderate behavior. Manson clarifies he's not suggesting people stop caring about moral responsibilities or empathy. Instead, it's about letting go of people-pleasing and societal pressures that don't align with your values. There's a difference between apathy toward others' feelings and the wise allocation of your concerns. You still treat others with respect, but you decline to invest your emotional energy in endless drama or hollow ambitions. This nuance is crucial. The real subtlety in Manson's approach is balancing personal authenticity with basic empathy. 11. Subtlety over blunt force. Although the book's language is often brash, Manson's message is more subtle. He's not telling readers to become arrogant rebels, but to cultivate a sharper awareness of what they stand for. If you discover that kindness or compassion is a top priority, you can wholeheartedly pursue it without bowing to external validations. This sincerity extends to how you handle mistakes, own them, learn, and move on rather than obsessing over perfection. The art in the title suggests that living this way requires some finesse. Knowing when to let go and when to engage deeply demands judgment, self-reflection, and the humility to admit you can't fix everything. 12. Practical techniques. While the subtle art is heavy on attitude and perspective, Manson does sprinkle in practical tips. He encourages journaling about what you truly care about and contrasting it with how you actually spend your time. Another exercise is to list major frustrations or anxieties and ask yourself if they align with the top 5 values you want to champion. If you realize a big chunk of your stress is about something you don't fundamentally value, that's a strong hint you need to either walk away or reset your attitude. Manson also stresses open communication with partners, friends, or colleagues to ensure your boundaries and priorities are understood, reducing conflict and confusion. 13. Vulnerability and connection. Despite the book's brashness, vulnerability is a running theme. Manson says real human connection arises when we dare to be honest, flawed, and occasionally even humiliatingly open. That means being willing to show insecurities, to say, "I don't know," or to apologize genuinely. Ironically, not giving a fuck about social judgment allows you to form deeper bonds because you're no longer projecting a false persona. People trust authenticity. The paradox is that by caring less about external impressions, you often form more genuine relationships. This approach might lead you to say no to shallow acquaintances, while forging tighter bonds with those who respect your authenticity. 14. Why this resonates. Part of the book's popularity stems from its timing and tone. In a world saturated with social media perfection and motivational cliches, Manson's candid approach stands out. The book resonates with many who feel pressured to be perpetually upbeat or to chase success as defined by others. Manson's writing is direct, laced with humor, and sprinkled with personal anecdotes of failure. Readers often appreciate that he never positions himself as a flawless guru. Instead, he's a fellow traveler, having learned from numerous pitfalls, simply encouraging you to question what you're giving your fucks to. 15. Conclusion. Summarizing. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. We see a philosophy of focusing on fewer, deeper values, owning your struggles, and embracing life's limitations with humility. It's an anti-hype self-help guide that says it's okay to fail, that negativity can be instructive, and that ironically, the more you accept life's tough realities, the more fulfilling and authentic your life becomes. This is not a recipe for laziness or reckless disregard. Rather, it's an invitation to align your limited time and energy with the things that truly matter. In letting go of what doesn't serve you, and gracefully accepting the inherent suffering that comes with any worthy pursuit, you find a kind of freedom. Manson's final challenge is for readers to confront their illusions, face their fears, and choose struggles that lead to genuine growth. By caring more selectively, you can create a life that, while imperfect, is deeply engaged, purposeful, and honest to who you really are.